please gather around. Okay. Yeah. So what of everything you have seen in these 3 lessons, and what of everything you experienced in the group lesson was of most interest to you, or most confusing to you, or what of all that you saw would you like to ask a question about, or seek clarification about, or seek some sort of further development?
The most amazing thing that I thought was when you played, and the sound after the first time he did this was double the sound, double the depth, double the width. Everything was, it went exponentially from there.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is the most amazing thing. Now my question would be, how can I myself show anyone who does not have this ability, you know, with your high arch, to do it? It looks so easy just going back and forth, but is it really that easy?
It's easy once you understand the function. So this is why I'm harping on functionality. Functionality is not just pressing buttons, it's standing action. It's an action which actually would seem to have nothing to do with playing the piano. I just stand. And you notice, as my finger is standing up now, nothing goes down. Nothing goes down. When I stand up here, nothing goes down. The feet don't even press, they don't press the ground down. The feet get in contact with the ground, and then what happens actually is very similar. If I just press the ground, nothing happens. And the body has to go first. So when I told Thomas to stand the finger up and let the arm follow. But actually what's happening is that the arm begins, the arm initiates, and now it makes it very easy for the finger to stand. Because if I try to get out of the chair, nothing happens until my body's here, my body's here. And do we do that with a minimum of tension? So Feldenkrais says it's very ingenious, and you can try it now, where you turn your head left and right, turn your head left and right, and it's continuous, continuous. No breaks, no breaks. And now, get out of the chair with no interruption in that left or right. Did you feel it? That it was like continuous, or was there a... Yeah, so the moment where the body goes, now do the same thing going down. And at a certain point you'll feel it catch, and that's where you're losing your center of gravity. So we get out of the chair and we use muscular effort and we force ourselves out of the chair. And if the skeletal design is, I have my center of gravity, I have my center of gravity. Now the center of gravity was on the sits bones, but all of a sudden the center of gravity is over the heels, and once it's over the heels, and clearly over the heels, it stays, well, over the ankles actually. Stay over the ankles. Don't sit down, just squat. If you just don't sit down, just squat, just squat, just squat, and at a certain point, surprise, surprise, your ass kissed the chair. And there you're down. You can also do it like this. This is even more difficult. No interruption in the knees. No interruption in the knees. Yeah, and now don't sit down, just squat, just squat, just squat, just squat, just squat until your knees continue to move, and that was very good.
That was easier.
Yeah. Well, the head is very difficult. But you see, as soon as there's an interruption in the smooth head movement, that means somewhere in the whole system, there's a parasitic contraction. There's a contraction that's not helping you do what you intended to do, but working against it. And so, we don't realize the degree to which that affects the sound. So, for instance, the standing action, if you speed it up, to my mind, the deficiency I hear in most major concert pianists today is that they don't know how to play forte. The best. You hear fingers like fantastic fingers, beautiful poetry, hundreds of colors, beautiful sonorities, and then they go fast, and they go loud, and something is, I won't mention names, but I just heard like one of the best Gaspard-Lanuits of my life, live in concert, and the Schumann Fantasy was like horrible, because he's going like he's doing all this stuff with his body to help him play forte. He hasn't a clue. He's completely disorganized. Why? Because he's trying to push the buttons down. He thinks that playing forte is pushing the buttons down more, or using more weight. Then he uses more weight, and now he feels something's wrong about that, so I better get my body, so going the other way. And then he's pushing his body off the piano bench, which is the height of dysfunctionality. You know, your sits bones, that's your root. That's the roots of the tree. All movement emanates from the sits bones. How are you going to move if you're tensely pushing all that off the body? So, you join your structure to the body, and you stand up. So, you just join the structure to the body functionally. That means in a standing action. So, I can demonstrate why that sound changed so much. It's because the piano is more sensitive to this than we know. When you go down at the octave, anything goes down and there's any compression, that creates a hit. And the hit goes into the wood of the piano case and into the soundboard, and it interferes with the free vibration of the strings. So I'm going to play loud. And you hear all those vibrations, they're screwing up the string, the pure tone. Now I'm going to play much louder. Instead of like that. So which way is going to give you a nicer, more purely vibrating string? And that's why this sounds crushed. And this sounds open. I used way less effort the last time, but the effort was more intelligent. But the amazing thing is, when you did this, and then you did this, it's the same difference. This little thing here, press the button down. It actually, for all intents and purposes, you choked the sound of the piano. You free the whole system. Why? Because it became functional. So I'm sorry, I harped on this functionality. It's like the Feldenkrais practitioners, the Feldenkrais community, I'll get to you in a second. We have these eternal discussions, what is a function? What did Moshe mean when he said a function? Because that's basically one of the basic things that differs his movement, is his method from all the others. But then some people, they get into mathematical functions. That's what he was talking about. And then other people say, the function is, I picked up the coffee mug. So this is just an action going to grasp the hand. But once I use it for a purpose, I picked up the cup. Now the function is picking up the coffee cup. For me, no. For me, the function is all the sequencing of the muscular engagements and movement angles of the bones so that the coffee cup is picked up in the most mechanically efficient manner possible. Which is why I talk about don't push the key down, stand up on the key, because that makes all the bones and all the muscles work in a way which does not compress the key, but moves the key, free movement of the key, precise movement of the key, no external parasitic compressions needed. Okay, now you were first.
Yes, I just wanted to ask if this standing up thing, do you apply that to all pieces you play, or just to produce
It's
a certain
either
sound?
that or lie down.
Pardon?
It's either stand up or lie down.
Okay.
No, you don't, we don't. The standing is kind of, as you see today, it's kind of at the core of our understanding of the difference between pushing a key down and manipulating the key in a three-dimensional relationship. Because standing, getting into that whole standing action, that standing function, is the it makes it more accessible. It's like, it gives me a way in, it gives me a door in, like, oh, that's what I'm doing. There, you feel immediately the fundamental difference between pushing down and standing up. I could also lie down. Look. I just lay down. I lay down. I slid in. I can slide. I can slide and swoop. There's all sorts of stuff. Now there is a little bit of standing in there, but of course I can slide and lie down. Why is that good? Because I'm not hitting the piano at all. I'm establishing relationship with the key, and the movement of the key is precise, and the movement of the key is skeletal. That means all the 3 bones of that finger, and the metacarpal bone, and the 8 bones of the wrists, and the 2 bones of the forearm, and all the rest are all involved in moving that key. I can use a bird beak. I can take my hand and compress it into as something as stiff as a bird beak, and like that. And that again would appear to, it looks like I'm pressing buttons. But now I press the button with no hidden collapse of the system due to this misunderstanding of relaxation. No, I stiffen the whole thing totally, and I bang, bang, bang. And like a good drummer, bam, there's always a little bit more up and down. Boom, 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 bam, bam, bam. There's actually no compression. Bam. There's always something going the other way. Wow, bam, bam. Yeah, so I always conspire to totally equalize the down forces and the up forces. The movement is functional when there's not a preponderance. If there's too much down, you get a compression. If there's too much up, you don't get any sound. So what we don't realize, use the weight of the arm to move the key. No. Gravity is providing us with all the down we need. I don't use the weight of my body to get out of the chair. I would be a blob on the floor. The skeleton unfolds. All our movements is anti-gravity, anti-gravity. Gravity is the law. Gravity showed me which way to unfold. Gravity showed me why I unfold over here, not very far ahead. So here, I lie down. I let gravity help me establish a more intimate skeletal contact with the key. I make a bird beak. I don't allow gravity to soften that and create compression. If it's as hard as a drumstick, it's very percussive, but it does not compress. There was no compression. Even that, there was no compression. You hear a knock. You actually hear a knock. But that's a pleasant knock, because it's not overdone and there's no residual tension. Any movement that's free from residual tension. Residual tension, that's muscle contractions. It's trying to do the movement even after the movement is done. Why would you? It's already done. Just move on to the next thing. I'm free. I'm free. I'm free. So it's not always standing. It could be lying down. It could be bird beaking. It could be sliding. It could be a half stand. There's all sorts of things. But it's like once I've established how to stand up and get out of a chair and get back in the chair again, I can do all sorts of choreographies. So it's not just about walking down the street. We become ballet dancers where every movement, is creating a choreography which is expressive, and there's hundreds of types of expression. And now, listen. Every melody has a different shape of up and down and twisting this way and twirling that way and sliding this way. And if I get into the choreography, then every melody becomes unique. And every melody starts having this glowing sound, which we got first by doing this instead of this. So does that answer your question?
Yes.
Cool. Now, what did you have to say?
I was wondering whether kind of each of these functions relates to a certain sound color.
Sound color?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
that's the whole thing. That's the more of these functions we master, the more colors we have.
okay.
And first you learn these things not to be dysfunctional in your playing, and not to have pain, and not to really make an ugly sound, and not to feel like klutzy and, oh, I don't know where this note is. But afterwards, once you've mastered it, then once you've mastered all that, and then you realize that's just the first step. And now you keep refining and creating variants, and then you have more colors, and it's never ending. Yeah, yeah, very, very important. Each of those, this slide, that's a different one from this lie down, which is a different one from the stand up, which is a different one from the buried beak. And I literally tried not to change my dynamic, just to change the internal muscular state. And then you start realizing Chopin, it's written that Chopin, at the first lesson with a new student, he would spend 2 hours on one note. And he would, he would show you this way and do, oh, look at this way, but can you imagine 2 hours? And he would just drive the student nuts. Then if he came back, then he knew, okay. And if not, then he knew he got rid of another student who didn't really want anyway. Yeah, very, very good questions so far. Because I hate having just a lecture, but I love responding, to what the needs of the group are. Yes?
I was just, after my Feldenkrais training, I found something for me, and I was wondering maybe this is a little bit the standing, because I tried just to get an idea how the skeletal was one by one bone after one bone, and then also I put it here, but my thinking was that I'm on the key and I get like the feedback. I push a little bit the key and I get the feedback, and then it helped me to feel one bone after one bone to get a skeletal. But maybe this is the standing. You know what maybe understand?
This is very good. This is really, really good. So push the key, and then get feedback. But you're actually getting the feedback from the movement of the key. Like it goes a little down or it goes all the way down, but somewhere in there, you're getting feedback going back the other way.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. Because this takes my idea even farther. This is very good. Because I've been simplifying it, actually. Like I've been saying, look, you would stand up exactly the way you stand up, even if there's no keys. You just walk on a table and you stand up like this, and you walk and you move and you jump and whatever. It's all the standing function, the walking function. And now you do it on key, and it's just like, oh, the key just went down by accident. So I'm talking like that to get people out of But afterwards, then we do what you just said. We stand up and we feel, oh my God, my standing action is having an effect on this key. Oh my God, my standing action is manipulating this key. Oh my God, I'm engaging in a relationship with this key. Oh my God, the key is like a lever that's going like this, and my finger is like a lever, and they're like two levers, and they're interacting. And if I stay free on this side of the lever, then that lever stays free, and this lever stays free. They both stay free, and I'm feeling their interaction. And how do I feel that? By, as you said, precisely that, getting feedback all the way back up. That's fantastic. And when you get that feedback really, as happened in your lesson, the body transforms. Happened a little bit with you too. We didn't go that far, but the body will go, ah. All of a sudden, your inner state here is changed, transformed, and that allows you to then establish these moving relationships with each key in succession. And the key is amazingly responsive, and the piano mechanism is incredibly complex. I've had mechanical engineers, people who are working on jet engines and Lord knows what, come to me in a conference and say, when we looked at that thing, we've never seen anything so complex. It's really completely ingenious. And so there's something called biotensegrity, where the muscles of the body's muscles, they contract and they make a movement, or they relax and they make a movement, yeah? But there's another way of making movement. Let's say I'm running and my calf muscles are contracting and relaxing and contracting and relaxing, and contract, let go, contract, let go, contract, let go. And if I go really fast, it gets easier, not difficult. it should be way more difficult. Now they have to contract and let go much faster, but they don't. Because now the calf muscle got contracted, and then it just stayed contracted. Like an elastic that got pulled, and now because of the actions of other part of myself, it's like an elastic bouncing like this. It's free energy. And I mentioned it in my last book. You can look at it online, Dr. Mark Cucuzella, Principles of Natural Running, where he describes the whole process of establishing that bouncing kind of. So when the muscle is behaving like an elastic like that, there's a doctor, Stephen Levin, in the 1970s who found these tensegrity sculptures, where these are sculptures which are wires and sticks, and none of the sticks touch. So if none of the solid parts are touching, the thing should just fall down. But somehow the angles and everything, and the thing stays standing, and it's as strong as a wall. And Buckminster Fuller called this a tensegrity structure. And Levin sees this and says, that's it, that's the model of the human body. We are a biotensegrity structure. This whole, all the muscles and the bones and everything, the spine is not a stack of bricks. The spine is way more functional than that. And he discovered that the tendons which seem to hold the bones together are also holding them apart. The tendons also hold the bones apart and stop them from crunching on each other. It's not just the synovial fluid. So the whole thing is a tremendously elastic and compressive and expansive system. Like a tendon muscular, what's the other? The gristle. There's tendons and there's another thing that connects, connective tissue, and there's fascia, and there's all this stuff is a continuous organic pulsation kind of thing. And then you figure out that, so this is a tremendously elastic system, and then that complexity in the piano action is designed to imitate biotensegrity. So when you're going, you're a genius, because you go like this, you stand, and then you seek feedback through the system. You're also getting biotensegrity-like feedback from the key. It's not just going up and down. That's why the electric keyboards are so shitty, because they don't have this. It's not just gravity. It's not just a weighted key. It's very complex. There are 3 or 4 let-offs and all sorts of stuff going on in there to imitate the feeling of a tensegrity element. And so that's why it feels so wonderful to play the piano well. And then when you get rid of the compressive element, and you don't compress anymore, and you just engage in a free relationship in the field of gravity, but not constrained by the field of gravity, informed by the field of gravity, plus informed by your own capacity for biotensegrity, then the thing starts to sound like a miracle. Then you start hearing all sorts of sonorities which you would not normally hear. Yeah. And some of the great artists, they get there on their own. So what piano somatics is doing is looking at what they did and figuring out, oh, there's this element of Feldenkrais in there. Oh, this element of, maybe we can replicate this a little better than we have up until now.